Hello, I'm Jim from Promethean, and with me is Rory. Rory,
Hello,
take it
Jim.
away.
Thank you, Jim. Much appreciated. Today we're going to be talking about your scene, or a room in your scene, or a setting in your setting as your scene. We're going to be talking about lighting and its importance. In fact, I want to throw Jim under this proverbial bus. Jim, can you explain to me, in your own words, as few or as many as you'd like, how do you explain lighting in a scene? And you can take it any which way you want. You can take it like, are you in a room? What kind of space? What kind of setting are you in? Are you on the bridge of a space station? Are you on a different planet? Are you in a cave? Are you in a French cafe? How would
Mm,
you explain lighting, either in the written word or to an artist that's going to be drawing your scene?
drawing it, yeah. In the written word, at least, I use the light, the source of the light. So I start with the source of the light. So, for example, if you're in a space station, I'll mention that there's fluorescent lighting, maybe, or fluorescent light bulbs shining, and then I'll describe generally the type of light. So, in a space station, we'll keep going with that example, there's fluorescent light that casts an eerie glow or you know, illuminates the mechanical sides. I'm also explaining what the light is doing.
Hmm.
So, like three things: the source of the light, um, the type of light, kind of the way that it's harsh, bright, low, gloomy, whatever, and then what that light is doing. So, like
Hmm.
showing the cracks, or like if it's a bright light, tends to show
Okay.
reveal more detail. So, like
So the
revealing,
effect of the lighting.
right? Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yes.
Okay, good. That's good. I like that idea of the effect the lighting has, because that can really set a scene. Because everybody's got that experience of like going down to your basement, but the power's out,
Yes.
or like Home Alone going down to the basement and the furnace is down there. With that eerie feeling, it's like the lighting's a little different than it usually is down here because we're such creatures of pattern that we
Hmm.
notice when something isn't right.
Right.
So I
Exactly.
like that effect of like the lighting. If it's the old fluorescent bulbs, those really like long ones in like office
Hmm.
spaces on the ceiling, it washes everything out.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
everything's just a shade lighter or bleak or gray or white,
Yeah.
and it just makes it drab. So that everybody knows that sensation.
Right.
So it's
And
just as important as like music to a scene. It draws
yeah.
you in.
And the other thing is like where it's also important to note, like the positioning of the lighting also affects, um and we talked about this a little bit in one of our previous episodes on setting a scene. um the positioning of the lighting is important, and it's important. Maybe you don't reveal specifically where the lighting is, but it's still important for you
Hmm.
to know where the light's coming from, because a torchlight on the side of a wall is going to cast light out like this, so there's going to be more
Right.
shadows on the ceiling. But if you have, like in a spaceship, if the light's coming from the top, you're not going to have many shadows on the ceiling. You're going to have, and it's going to tend to be brighter light, so it's going to create
Hmm.
a more visible appearance, and so that sets the scene too. How bleak is it? Where the lighting's coming from is going to cast different shadows, which you can work
Right.
with in a scene. So if you have torchlight on the walls, you're going to have you can have shadows on the ceiling, so you can create like, um, one of the characters notices that a shadow, or like you could see light creeping along the ceiling, or something creeping along the ceiling, but you couldn't see it or he couldn't see it very well because the light is coming from the side.
Yeah.
But if the light's coming from the top, you could so easily see something crawling across the ceiling. So,
Right.
like, where the light is coming from is also important to be aware of, even if you don't
Sure.
necessarily reveal that to the reader. um, it's still
Right,
clutch
because
to know where.
you holding that image in your brain of where it's coming from is also in the back of your mind going to be helping you write, because you know what you want to convey.
Hmm.
And I think it's important, if you're not sure where or if you even should put lighting in your scene, montage the scene. Is it
Hmm.
a long scene? Is it an hour in length? Is it 2 minutes? Does it really matter where the lighting is? If it, as long as you're getting across that it's midnight, or it's daybreak or dusk. I
Mhm.
like thinking of a desert scene, a guy on horseback in the desert. When you say the noonday sun, you feel it immediately. It's hot. It's bearing
Yeah.
down. But then I montage it. He's going through the desert all day long, so you're seeing the sun change position, and then the colors change with it because as dusk hits, you're going to get those blues and oranges and pinks, and
Hmm.
so it can affect you subconsciously while you're writing. So it's
Right.
important for both the author and the reader.
Yes, that's so true. Now, for a comic book setting, Rory, how do you handle that?
So for comic book setting, I think when you're giving the script to the artist, you have to be very particular. Not only giving them a color palette to work with that lets them know, what time of day it is, but you have to say, August 7th, 1776, morning, because the color palette's going to be different because you're going to have lighter versions of the same colors in the mornings. You're going to have the hue, not the shade. The shade you'll have in the evening. If you're in an enclosed room, having like, yeah, like I said, torch sconce on the wall, uh, torch sconce opposite of hero on the wall, or torches lining the hallway on the left hand
Mhm.
side. Or is the character himself part of the illumination? Is it Gandalf with his staff? So he's
Right.
going to cast everything else in shadow. Is an adventurer with a torch, which is this is the greatest trope in all of fantasy movies and TV shows. They're always holding the torch out in front of them. You're not going to be able to see Jack because you have a bright light in your face. You're not seeing through that. You want to hold it up above, behind, out to the side so that it illuminates you and what's forward.
Right. Yeah.
So thank you, Lindy Beige, the YouTube channel, for that. That was years ago, and I had never thought about it until you brought it up. It was like, wow, that's just changed my perspective on every fantasy movie I watch. So
It makes so much sense. Yeah, like now
yeah,
thinking about Lord of the Rings where Gandalf's got the staff in front of him. It's like everybody's like, I can't
blinded.
see.
Yeah, visually it works, and I get it, and you can get away with it because it's fantasy. But if you're a stickler about it, it's good to know your historical references.
Right.
But like I said, when you're getting it to the artist, you have to be particular. You have to tell them what time of day it is. Because I'm working on one story where there's a lot of underwater shots. So if it's,
Mhm.
say, a ship battle during the day and you're underwater looking up at a ship being destroyed, it's going to have a different kind of green than at night. It's going to be blues and
Yeah.
purples and moonlight. And so,
Hmm.
and keeping your lighting consistent throughout your story or scene. Because if it's two people talking to each other panel to panel and the moon's in both their panels, like are they next to each other? Are they opposing each other? What's going on?
Right.
So the psychology of it too, you need to do a little bit of thinking involved.
Yeah. I think yeah, in general, like as Rory said, for novel written form, when you're giving the author a straight written form, you don't need to be as detailed. But when you're giving a comic book artist your script, you need to be a little bit more detailed because people are going to be that artist is going to literally be visually recreating what you're describing. And it's not just living in somebody's imagination where people can have different perspectives on it, but somebody's going to see it. And so you want to make
Right.
sure that what you're communicating is clear. Well,
Yes.
I think that's
Wonderful.
all the
Thank
time
you.
we have.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim, for joining me on this foray into visual illumination.
Absolutely. And stay tuned for more videos. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our socials in the links below. And check out our website where we have some cool announcements. Thanks.